following podcast is recorded and produced by Emerge, a media creators co-op. The following podcast is recorded and produced by Emerge, a media creators co-op, in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com.
Hello and welcome to episode 43 of the Big YAC podcast. It is I, Mike Pareto, alongside me as always, Nico Benny. How are you today, Nico?
Doing good. I'm ready to go over the latest in the NFL draft recap.
Yeah, we had a very interesting and busy last week. With the draft, a couple moves during the draft, including names like DeAndre Swift. We also had a couple other signings as well, like, Bills getting, like, Poona Ford. I feel like that's kind of like an under-the-radar signing.
That's a big signing.
But, yeah, I mean, we're going to go over every team's draft. We're going to grade them. And we're going to go from there. It's going to be kind of a vanilla episode, if you want to say it like that. I'm not gonna get
very
too
plain
crazy.
Jane.
Jane, yeah.
We're gonna be approaching like the depths of the off season pretty soon, and I already have some like wild kind of outlandish content in mind, so we'll get ready for that. Been playing a lot of Pokemon Go recently, so yeah. I feel like we can. I have this master tweet that I'm in the works planning for, and it's comparing some of the rookie picks to Pokemon.
There you go.
So we'll have a whole segment.
Yeah.
Following weeks for that.
Any Pokemon fans that are reaching out or watch our show, give us a watch. We might have some good content coming your way.
Or if you want to discuss your favorite flavors like vanilla.
Yeah. Vanilla, yeah.
We can have you can do a flavor draft. Flavor of ice cream draft. Like a DD's draft, we'll go to DD's and we just draft ice cream.
Yeah, this episode is going to be sponsored by DD's, if you're listening, we'd love to take a sponsorship. We can
call in on the hotline.
We can do an ice cream separate.
Call in the hotline. It's definitely like, because I do like, and I'm a big GR fan, and I love they do silly stuff. Especially this time of year. They're on 5 days a week for 3 hours.
That's a lot of talking.
They've got to figure out. And today was terrible though. Like Tasker was talking about like how he got rid of Robbins on his patio. And I'm like, this, and it wasn't good. Like,
there was no punchline.
Once he strayed from the concept of football, he needed to stop. So. But I'm interested. I am really interested to see how you guys, because obviously we do several podcasts here, and I'll do real quick now. Shout out. This is today is May 3rd, and today is the 1 year anniversary of Emerge.
Woo! That's right. That is today.
A year ago today, we had our first event was an art show. And so we're, I didn't go broke yet, so we're still here. And I do really appreciate, the podcasters, especially you guys, early on who have been partners, who let me make, you trusted the process, as they say. And I think you guys are in a really good spot. But we wouldn't be able to do this if you guys wouldn't have given me a chance. So I really super appreciate it.
Appreciate you. I mean, hey, that means we're coming up on our 1 year anniversary of the show itself.
Next month.
Yeah, you guys started about it. Yeah, like you guys got in pretty darn early, actually.
I think our day is like end of June, I want to say.
We might have to do a special episode for that day.
The 1 year episode.
Well, there's definitely, you guys got to look back at make a quick like TikTok or something, a reel from some of like not your best moments from that first
episode where I'm like
not ready for podcasting
hip
players.
Abductors on the side or the.
But but it's funny, like even like because my other, obviously you guys know my son Christian, and we did a lot of stuff, and we look back to a couple of our first episodes and like, oh my God, what were we doing? Like we were awful. Like even in the ones before when we were still taping in North Tonawanda, like how terrible. Like how terrible we were, we're still not great, but no, but seriously, guys, I'm really interested because all week I've been hearing all the podcasters that come in and out of here talk about the draft and the winners and the losers, and I don't think I've heard a consistent. Everybody's got their own take, so this is kind of interesting for me because I've never been a draft guy, so I am really. Honestly, very interested to see how you guys read it versus say the other groups of dudes that have been in this week. So
yeah. NFL draft, though, I mean, it's always a fun time. We I just chilled out at home. Had a couple people over, had some pizza. By Ventry's, actually really good.
Yeah,
it was actually really good. The Ventry's up, over here on the Boulevard. It's actually very pleased.
Mr. Ventry's on the Boulevard.
Yeah.
So fun fact, I probably get takeout from there once a week.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, I don't really want to give out my address, but I live right by where Buzzy's is. To where
you don't want to get doxxed?
No. I don't want a hater to come on and or like send me hate
You're gonna
mail.
get swatted.
Yeah, flaming bag of poop on the front,
or confetti cannon or some stupid.
Yeah, I live right by Buzzy's. I live in LaSalle, so I'm literally Buzzy's is like right there. So that's like the easiest option.
Yeah, and it's there's I've never had a bad pizza from Buzzy's. Like their wings are good. You know what you're going to get from Buzzy's, and that's my level of comfort in DeVoe. Like I have the app for Mr. B's, so I just texted Miss Miranda earlier. I'm like, "Is there food? Please tell me there's going to be food because I'm not going to be home till 10 o'clock. So please tell me there's something." She's like, "I'll order Mr. B's." I'm like, "Oh, thank God."
It's funny. Anyone else that's listening that's not from this area, they're like, "What the hell are they talking about?"
Yeah.
Shout out to Kansas City. I just want to say we have had we're getting our demographics back, and we're looking through, and obviously Buffalo Niagara Falls region has been our number one supporters, so we can't thank our hometown enough for all the love and support. But number 2, Kansas City.
Kansas City is
riding hard for the Big YAC podcast. Number 3 is Detroit. Fun fact.
Detroit.
So that's our big 3 right now. We're really getting something in the Midwest.
Yeah. Hey, listen, if anybody from Kansas City wants to send us some barbecue, I don't even know if it would make it. This
even
far?
Sauce. Just barbecue sauce.
Yeah, if you guys have any kind of hometown barbecue sauce, because I know how big the barbecue is down there in Kansas City. We're here at Emerge, Niagara Falls, 2429 Military Road. Come on. Just had to throw that out there.
UPS, let us know. I'll make sure I'm here to receive it.
Miranda's going to walk in one day. There's just going to be boxes of
there's just barbecue sauce all over my face. Did you guys get nothing came in the mail.
Smells like sweet baby Ray's in here.
Nothing came.
Yeah.
So that's great. No, it's cool. It's interesting, that you're getting hits from those communities, and so it's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's neat. That
I think a lot of it has to do with our spotlight series. Something else we should shout out are some of our guys that got drafted.
Yeah.
Nick Jones and Chandler Zavala. Although Nick Jones is now going to be etched in history as the guy that got drafted by James Droz. So take a look at that viral clip. We'll have one coming pretty soon.
Yeah, we're going to have a reel coming really soon. You guys are going to enjoy that one.
But shout out to all of our guys that were on the show, that took the time out of their busy schedules and made an appearance.
So a couple of them, 2 actually got drafted, and some other people are signed as
3 or 4.
I want to say about 4 of them got
signed as unrestricted. Is that what it's called, or how does it
undrafted
work?
Free agent?
Undrafted.
They're unrestricted, yeah, but undrafted free agents.
Okay. I didn't even realize, to be honest, until this year, I never realized that was a thing.
Oh yeah.
I just assumed you didn't get drafted, that maybe they'd look through the list and they'd just call you up and say,
essentially.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that they had a term for it.
Caleb Murphy got signed by the Tennessee Titans. Thomas Greeny, the tight end out of Albany, got signed by Cleveland. And then we also had Joey Fisher, O-line.
San Francisco. There's one more, I think, or unless I'm incorrect. No?
That's all I can think of off the top of my head.
There might be one more. Yeah, there might be one more. I'm not too sure. But yeah, Chandler and Nick both got drafted. Chandler 4th round, Nick in the 7th. So, I mean, congratulations to all you guys. And to, the other couple of guests that didn't get drafted or signed,
just wait.
There's still time. There's
just
still time.
Wait.
Don't get discouraged yet. There's always teams inviting players to camp. Things don't work out sometimes, with the players that they have. So there's always opportunities. So please do not get discouraged at all. But yeah, congratulations to everybody that was drafted this past weekend. Even if the guys who weren't on our show, it's just being able to get
guys our age too, which is the craziest thing. I just want to say, it really hits home when people are like, "Oh, Dalton Kincaid's old. Dalton Kincaid is old." They drafted this is the Bills' oldest player they've drafted in XXX. He's a day older than me. We're a day apart, and
you're washed up.
That's it. My athletic.
Our time is over, man. We might as well as go in a nursing home.
Yeah, wheel me in.
No, that's how I felt with Tremaine Edmonds when he got drafted. I was like,
well, I mean, he's still what,
He's
our
still
age,
he's a year
20
older than us.
24.
He's
And he
like
spent 5 years in the league.
Is he just like, was he take a COVID year or something, or did he just?
no, he got drafted at 20.
19, I think.
19 or 20.
He
I
got
think.
drafted at 19 years old, but turned 20 before the season started.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when he got drafted, he was like one of the youngest players ever.
Yeah.
You know, sitting here, I'm like, what the heck's going on here? Like, and he's already like 4 or 5 years in the league now, and it's like
He's a vet.
he's a vet, and it's like he's only 24, and some of the guys are getting drafted are older than him.
Well, I
So-
mean, Hendon Hooker's
Hendon Hooker's
26,
25.
25. I mean,
Stetson,
and that's, I guess, was my point. Is that guys that they took a year off because of COVID, or they're just the way their birthdays fell when they were
A
in
little
high
bit of
school?
everything.
Or,
It's everything.
you know,
Stetson Bennett, college teammates with Matthew Stafford, finally got drafted. So shout
well,
out
that's
him.
become a thing in my years of coaching,
No, no.
for 20 years, where like those people that would like hold their kids back and pre-K to make their kids come out, like, because they wanted their kids to be like the biggest kid in kindergarten because they thought that was going to help with sports. And I guess maybe it is helping sometimes, but it seems a weird thing for people to do. Like, you know,
Right.
I keep my kid next year of pre-K because I want him to be an outlier
If my
It's an
mo-
in
investment.
kindergarten.
if my mom or dad ever held me back,
I'd be cursing them to this day.
I would not be happy. I don't know. I mean, regardless, sometimes it works out for some
Yeah,
of
unless
the
you made the
kids.
NFL, and then you'd be like, "Dad, you were right."
Dad,
so
you're
I
right.
guess for the people that did that and it worked out, then they did something right. I guess
Right.
so. You know,
Let's
get into the show.
dive in. Yeah, let's dive into this draft. We're gonna start off with the AFC East. Got the Buffalo Bills. We really want to break this down first. We might have a caller or two.
Let's flash up the graphic.
Yeah.
Emerge is live, and you'll be able to hear yourself. So don't if you're watching live and you're calling, don't let yourself echo.
Right.
You're
Right.
gonna hear yourself.
yeah.
And it's
Well,
gonna be
there's
really
a delay,
weird, but
so it's not like the radio where it's just a couple seconds off. Like it's about a 20-second delay between here and the YouTube feed. So you're 20. If you're at home, there's 20 seconds behind.
Yeah.
That's just the internet. Just the way the internet works.
Right.
It takes 20 seconds for it to.
Technology.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's not because we're worried about somebody swearing or something. It's just So you might want to not walk away from your. Well, of course you're probably watching on your phone anyway. So if you're calling, you're probably not
That's
on
true.
YouTube when you're
That's
calling.
very true. So yeah, 716-299-0060. We're taking calls. Talk about the draft. Talk about the NFL. Talk about how you're feeling. We're all here for it.
Talk about anything, honestly. You can ask me
How
why
you
the
got
sky's
rid of
blue.
some-
I'd be like, oh.
Talk about how you got some robins off your front porch or something. But
Yeah. Talk
AFC
about
East.
Jackson Mahomes getting arrested.
It's you should never wish. I just don't like him, and I was like, I'm not surprised. He seems like he's a jerk that he'd beat up his girlfriend or whatever.
Sexual battery.
Oh yes, accused. I'm sorry, he's accused. He didn't do it. We don't know that he did it. But, man, these people. It's good. I mean, I don't know. Just smarten up.
Yeah, he's just, I don't know. At some points, I feel like a lot of the things he does is for clicks and publicity at some point. Not talking about what happened with him being arrested. That's obviously something serious, but everything else, why the world hates him.
Yeah.
Is, because of that. But
Well, because he's not. He's famous because his brother's
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
yeah,
Patrick
the
Mahomes.
last name
And
has
that's
value.
but you're not anything. No one
Yeah.
would have ever clicked on. I mean, I guess maybe he could be still a popular YouTuber or whatever, but I just don't. I think he got a lot of perks because of who his brother is.
Does he share a cell with Chiefsaholic? Who knows?
We'll have to look into
Kansas
that
City
one.
folks, call in. Let's see.
There's so
Where's,
many. There's so many celebrities in trouble right
Chiefsaholic
now.
and,
that there's a lot that he could end up sharing a cell with. To be honest.
Yeah.
Jets.
Yeah, let's go.
Jets. Jets. We can't talk about the Jets without the acquisition of Aaron Rodgers because that finally happened.
Yeah, I think we had an episode last year with the Rodgers trade, right?
We mentioned it.
Yeah.
But now how it kind of fits into this draft. So we not only did they trade for Aaron Rodgers, they just signed Randall Cobb today,
They did.
which seemed like it was inevitable. And shout out to Aaron Rodgers for making sure his guys are fed.
Right.
I don't know if Randall Cobb would still be in the league if Aaron Rodgers wasn't around. He's getting up there in age, and he's not as productive as he probably other guys his age, but I don't know.
We'll see.
So shout out to A-Rod for keeping Cobb upright.
Right. So yeah, we're gonna start with the New York Jets. They picked 13th or 15th. They were 13th before the Aaron Rodgers trade. And so with the 15th overall pick, they selected Iowa State pass rusher Will McDonald. A lot of people thought this was a little bit of a surprise.
Felt like a reach, I thought.
It was a reach. I mean, on our mock drafts, I think we both had him at the bottom of the first round, or even I think one of us might have had him falling out of the first round. I think he was my 31st overall pick to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But him going 15, I think, shocked a lot of people.
Yeah, and you know what? I think what probably happened was that run on tackles.
Yeah.
In the first round, there were talks that they were really high on, I think it was Darnell Wright or Broderick Jones. I think it was Broderick Jones that they were really high on. And then they watched him go to number 14 by the Steelers. And so, I don't know. To me, that almost feels like they scrambled to get the next guy on their board, which they didn't expect to be that high in the first. They probably thought about trading back to get him, but obviously it takes two to tango.
Yeah.
But Will McDonald, I mean, I would say he's a fast rusher, and you pair him on the other side with Jermaine Johnson, who's also a speedy edge rusher. Keeps up with, I mean, with the AFC East. The AFC East is starting to look like a powerhouse.
Right. I mean, overall, looking at their draft, what would you give them grade-wise? I mean, you have Will McDonald, Joe Tippmann, the center in the second round, Carter Warren, the tackle from Pitt in the fourth, Israel Banacanda, running back from Pitt, Zaire Barnes, pass rusher from Western Mish, Jarek Bernard Converse from LSU, and Zach Kuntz from Old Dominion.
This was a solid draft for them. There wasn't any flashy picks. I mean, they built around the trenches with the first few rounds actually, and so in the AFC East, I mean, you have to. You got guys like Von Miller rushing at you, Bradley Chubb. I mean, and even the Patriots. A Bill Belichick defense is always going to be a top unit.
Right.
So I thought this was a solid draft. I'd probably give it a B overall. I really like their pick of Zach Kuntz out of Old Dominion. He, for anyone that pays attention to like the athletic scores, the RAS, his RAS. Oh, we're live.
Big Yak Podcast.
Hello.
Hello, who is this?
Guy.
My guy?
Yes, sir.
Who is this?
Guy.
Oh, Guy. Oh, Guy. Oh, I'm like, I thought you said
My
your guy.
guy.
I'm like, oh, what the? Like, I was like, oh, I was confused. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm alright, man. How you doing?
I'm chilling. What do you want to talk about?
Alright, so I seen today that Micah Parsons has been moved to a defensive end permanently, and I want to get your guys' take on. Do you think he has a shot at Defensive Player of the Year?
Micah Parsons has been officially moved to defensive end. Do we think that he has a legitimate shot of being the Defensive Player of the Year? Nico.
Did that come in?
Is
this fresh?
This is fresh.
This is fresh news.
I think this is fresh, yeah.
That's huge for them. I mean, and you look at the Cowboys too. They were trying to add to their linebacking core, and a guy like Micah Parsons is such a beast and is just a freak of nature.
Yeah.
And you line him up on the edge, yeah, those sack numbers are going to go up. I think he could definitely be a grab. I'd take a look at his futures right now before Vegas gets in.
Yeah, me personally, Micah Parsons is, he's just an overall great defensive player. You could put him anywhere on the defense in the front seven, but him being moved to defensive end, where I think he specializes more than, say, like as a coverage linebacker, I think that's just huge. So I think he has a legitimate chance of being Defensive Player of the Year this year. I mean, granted, hopefully, it depends on what like guys like T.J. Watt, if he's healthy, guys like that. But I do think Micah Parsons has a legitimate chance of being Defensive Player this year.
Well, yeah, that's going to do nothing but boost his stats, I think. You put it, like I said, put him on the edge, and his sack numbers are going to go up even higher. And then you put him in that defensive end category. Yeah, I'm taking his future all day long.
Yeah. So if you're into sports betting, take his future to win
Take
Defensive
it now
Player of
by
the Year.
midnight.
I would take it because you might win some money on that.
I do like that. I'm gonna take that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back to you, Mike. I'm gonna come back to you.
All right. Is there anything else you want to add, or?
No, sir. I'm staying tuned in.
Alrighty, thank you, my guy. Thank you for calling in. We really appreciate it.
Nice shirt. I like your shirt.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Z. I had to rep some Dragon Ball Z here and there. I'm a big DBZ guy. So.
There you go. All right, guys.
All right, have a good one.
Shout out, Guy.
So that was Guy Baker. Guy, he's a couple years younger than us. Really good, cool dude. I've really gotten to know him the last couple years. I've helped him out. He played football at Niagara Falls High School. So,
Great guy.
yeah, right after I graduated, as I told you guys, I've helped out with Niagara Falls football team. So that's how I met him. And then he went to UB. I think we're at UB for like a year or two together.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I always see him, around. We share a playlist together on Spotify.
Heyo, yeah.
Yeah, we have a similar music taste, but yeah, Guy's really good. I was so confused. He was like, I thought he said your guy, and I'm like, my guy. I'm like, I don't know, that could be anybody.
It's that quality. It's that quality phone from 1992. That's the problem. It's not exactly the state-of-the-art landline. It wasn't a good phone in '92 when my dad used it at the house.
Good luck finding something like this nowadays.
That was it. It was a gift from my father that he got from somebody from when he was a manager of Tops. It was one of his employees, and it sat in my father's bar down in the basement. And my dad passed away. And we slowly been kind of taking stuff and getting rid of some things. And my Christian was like, well, we should bring that to the building and see if we can get it to work. So it was it's kind of fun. And what a cool, if we're going to answer phones, what's better than on a Bill's phone?
That was our first live unscripted
and that
phone
went pretty well. Well done.
I was not expecting that. I didn't even ask him. He just,
We're taking Colin 716-299-0060.
It's like the Labor Day telethon now.
Yeah.
You can talk to Steve Tasker if you call for the next 20 minutes.
Right.
He'll tell you about Robbins.
Jets, though, what would you give them?
Yeah, so Zach Kuntz out of Old Dominion, the tight end, I really liked that pick. I'm surprised he lasted to the 7th, but that being said, this was a historically deep tight end class.
Right.
6'7", 255. What I was going to say earlier was his RAS score. He scored a perfect 10 out of 10 in raw athletic score. There have been 1,107, I think that was the number, tight ends between 1980s and now that have been put through this calculator. Number one. He is number one. And it's not like he's just some random guy. He was the star player for Old Dominion. He is a guy that can, down the road, be a huge, huge possession threat, 50-50 balls, big tight end, huge red zone threat, too. So I like that pick a lot. That definitely boosted up the score from a B- to a B alone for me. So, yeah, I'd give the Jets a solid B.
Yeah, I personally, I'm going to give them the B- here. I think that Will McDonald was a little bit of a reach for me at 15. I had guys like Nolan Smith above him, and Nolan Smith went 30.
Yep.
On our mock drafts, I had him going 31 to Kansas City. I like McDonald. He's long. He's an explosive guy. I just think it's nothing about him personally. I think he's a great player. I just think that he could have they could have traded back if they really wanted him.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of alluded to. It takes two to tango, I'm sure. And we talked about this in our mock draft, where this is kind of like that dead zone of guys. No one really wants to trade up. There's no one that really is sticking out yet. The corners were sticking out, but we'll talk about it next. But Christian Gonzalez went 17, which blows my mind to me.
Yeah.
But that was really one of the only other players that were sticking out from that first round.
Yeah. Other than that, for the Jets, Israel Abanikanda, I think he is good. But the running back room with the Jets is kind of a little bit loaded. You have Breece Hall, you have Michael Carter, you have Zonovan Knight. He's right now probably penciled in number 4.
They only spent a 5th round pick on him. So he's not a lock to make the roster, and I think you'd have to really contribute on special teams to make a difference this season. But, hey, who knows how – I don't know if Breece Hall will be back week 1. We don't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
All signs point to him being back week 1, but we just don't know at this moment. So that might be a Michael Carter and Abanikanda backfield. We don't know.
Right. So now we're going to move on to the New England Patriots, who traded back and got pick number 17. They traded back with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They went, speaking of Christian Gonzalez went right here at 17 in New England. For me, Christian Gonzalez is great value here. The problem is I think that this season New England should have went more offensive. Took a little bit of an offensive approach, whether it was an offensive tackle or a receiver.
Yeah, but that's Bill Belichick.
It's Bill Belichick, but here's the thing, though.
This is that crucial year 3 for Mac Jones, and we haven't seen a move yet that kind of, you take a look at the Eagles, and the Eagles went and got A.J. Brown for them. They got Josh Allen had Stephon Diggs. There's not that big playmaker, and even like right now with Chicago getting DJ Moore, we'll see how that turns out a year from now. But they didn't make that big move yet. Now DeAndre Hopkins is still out there, but all signs are starting to point to him being back in Arizona.
Right.
But yeah, there isn't that big threat. I don't know if I'd consider Juju Smith-Schuster that big needle mover.
Yeah, for me, it's just you're in a division, and especially a conference.
Next calling.
This is you.
Merge hotline.
Sean, just wanted to call and talk with the boys about the Bills draft.
Yes, sir, Sean. What's going on?
Neat, let's go.
All right. Tell us how you're feeling.
Hey, Nico, listen. Here's the deal.
All right.
I have a real problem with Brandon Bean right now.
Okay.
Everybody wants to talk about how great this Kincaid pick is and all that. Here's my question to you guys. Do you think that this pick was made because they were afraid to upset Diggs? Personally, I think they're on a very fine line with Diggs right now. And they knew picking receiver that may supplant him eventually this year or in the next year would probably sever ties completely. So instead of picking a weapon at wide receiver, they try and hedge their bet and go, okay, we'll buy a weapon at tight end. And to me, I worry with Brandon Bean because it seems that he is always trying to patch and never trying to load up. Like the Eagles, they load up. The Chiefs, they try and load up. The Bills never feel like they really try and load up. It's always patch here, plug here, fix one thing. It's very frustrating. It feels that the Bills are always, well, let's hope for the best, and if the worst happens, we're in that spot. And every other team that is trying to actually win a championship is all in. And it just feels like Brandon Bean is never all in. So I'll stay on and listen to what you guys think.
Sean, thank you for the call. Mike, did you hear most of that?
I could, but I couldn't make out most of it. Just overall, yeah.
So Dalton Kincaid, was he a pick that was kind of made because Bean was afraid to draft a wide receiver in order to not upset Diggs?
I mean, I personally think. Here's the thing. A lot of those receivers that were sitting there were guys who could play in the slot. So I don't know if I'd say it would have upset him. I think the one reason why he didn't take a receiver was he probably didn't want to trade up, because me and you were talking about it the other day. If Buffalo wanted to trade up for a receiver, they would have had to trade up earliest. Or no, like not earliest.
With Seattle was going to be the top.
I wouldn't even. I'd probably say Tampa Bay because Seattle picked up JSN at 20. So you realistically probably would have had to trade up with Tampa Bay, go from 27 to 19. They probably didn't want to give up that much. I mean, I watched some of their videos of like the draft process, and before the draft even began, Bean made a comment to McDermott and said, if Kincaid's there, we're gonna get him. I don't know if you saw that video or not,
I saw that.
but.
The little 2-minute clip. Sean, did you see that clip?
It's on their Instagram, on their Twitter.
Yeah, he saw it too.
Yeah, so I think part of me thinks that they're dialed in on Kincaid for like he was probably their number one option, probably top 3 option.
And yeah, I think I look at it like this. You know, it seems like it's kind of cliche right now, where he's don't see him as a tight end, but in all actuality, I think he'll kind of fit that. I'm gonna coin this term because I haven't seen anyone else say it. He's a wide back, a wide receiver,
wide end,
or a wide
end,
yeah, a wide end. Wide back is Deebo Samuel. He's a wide end. So I think they're going to put him in that big slot role, and I really feel like we're going to hopefully see that identity shift that people have talked about, the identity shift that the Bills need. You know, they got bigger on the offensive front with Osiris Torrance. They got bigger on the defensive front. I think we're going to start to see a move where you have big pass catchers. And then on the defensive side, a big front four and a speedy fast seven. I look at the Dorian Williams pick out of Tulane, and he is a fast guy. So I don't know if it has less to do with Diggs being kind of appeased, but more of the runner receivers from 20 through 23, and still trying to pick the best player available. And like you said, they might have been locked in on Kincaid this entire time, and they might have had a higher grade on him than any of the other receivers in the draft.
You could even make that argument with the, you made the point about receivers. You could even make it with Kincaid if you want to with Diggs. I mean, having both of those guys, they're saying they're going to have both the guys in the field at the same time. Might take away
50 snaps. I mean, that's probably I'd probably see 50 receptions.
Yeah, it might take away, targets from Diggs.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Right.
Already low for
So
tight end one.
I saw a tweet there, and it broke down snap counts by offensive weapons. Sean asked about how many snaps and how many receptions and how many looks that Kincaid's even going to get year one. I think they're going to find a way to make it work. I would hope so. I mean, if you can't find a way to make it work, on average, Josh Allen throws about 600 times in a season. He has 600 pass attempts through the whole season. And you kind of split that up where 170, I would say, are probably going to Diggs. Not quite 200, but not just 150. I think 170 are going to Diggs, and then you have to share it out among the rest of the pass catchers. Yeah. I think this is where we start to see Kincaid. He might step in as that number 2. And Dawson Knox might have more of a blocking role. We don't know. I could see, but realistically, I could see 70 for Knox and 70 for Kincaid as well. I think they'll have the same amount of target share, at least this year, and then whoever seems to perform better will get more the following year.
And last thing I would love to see you guys do is rank Brandon Beane's drafts from his first year to now. And to make it a little bit even, I would say obviously the Josh Allen pick is a monster home run, but I would take that pick out and then rank all the drafts. I'd love to hear you guys give your opinion on that. But other than that, great work, guys. Can't wait to keep listening. Talk to you soon.
Appreciate it, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
So the last bit that Sean wants to talk about is the last rank the Bills drafts out of recent years. Like where do they stand amongst each other?
Would be able to revisit this when. Let's get through the Patriots first, and then we'll do the Jets.
Perfect. Yeah, we kind of went into a Bills tirade there.
It's all good. He probably wanted to just call now just to get out of the way because we might still be talking about the Patriots in 10 minutes. But,
right.
So Patriots draft. Me personally, you're in a division, you're in a conference where everybody is faster. Everybody got faster.
Yep.
Bills, Jets, Dolphins, and even in the conference, Chiefs, you have, Devontae Adams has been in the division now, is about to be his second year. Guys like that. Baltimore got faster with Odell and Zay Flowers. So, me personally, they waited until their 6th round to grab a receiver, an offensive playmaker at all. I mean, they grabbed back-to-back guards their 4th and 5th round in Sidy Sow and Antonio Mafi. But other than that, they did get Jake Andrews from Troy in the 4th round as well. But other than that, I mean, I really wanted them to see them grab some playmakers because
you didn't want to see them grab a kicker and a punter?
See, the punter pick in the 6th round, I can understand. You have 4 6-round picks, that's fine with me. But the kicker in the 4th round, the 10th pick in the 4th round.
Mind you, guys like the Bills drafted Justin Shorter was there, Xavier Hutchinson I think was there, A.T. Perry I believe was there.
I don't know. I like Marte Mapu. I thought was a great pick with the 3rd round.
I think that was a little early, but I think it's similar to the Duggar pick from a couple of years back, where he's a small school guy. Originally was probably going to be drafted in the 6th or 7th round, then out of nowhere had huge bumps in draft capital.
Keon White too. Keon White's a solid pick in the 2nd round. It's just like the 1st round, I had them going Zay Flowers at 14,
and they could have did it. I mean, there was not a receiver taken yet at 14, then 17, and Zay Flowers would have been a perfect fit. And I think I had them mocked to take Zay Flowers in the 1st round in one of my mocks because they loved him in the pre-draft process. I mean, it turned out to just be a classic smoke and mirrors because he was available. He was available at 17, and they didn't take him.
Yeah, some of these guys just feel like fill-ins. Like the Mario Douglas from Liberty, he's all right. I mean, he's a
I
late.
think Keyshawn Boutte is a solid pick in the 6th round.
For 6th round, I like Boutte in the 6th.
I mean, 2 years ago, he was a consensus top 10 pick in the entire NFL draft. If you were to take a look at like those way too early, like 2022 or 2023 drafts, he was a top 10 pick.
I'm just gonna have you just try to use this mic today because this one's giving us a hum. So.
Okay. Technical difficulties.
Roll your. Sorry about that.
All good. Hey, keeping us upright in the studios. And yeah, so 2 years ago, he was going to be a top 10 pick. And then he had a bad senior year, I believe it was, and then tested very poorly in the draft.
I mean, you see who else is in LSU as well. I mean, with the type of receivers they've had, so
right.
He's kind of probably got lost in the sauce a little bit.
So yeah, maybe he just wasn't ready to take over that lead role, but he's built like a prototypical wide receiver number 1.
Yeah. I think they were good on defense, but got better on defense. It's just offense. I don't think it's
the same old story with the Patriots.
I don't think they got better at all.
No.
Very, very minimal increase for offense. So give me your draft grade.
And I mean, so I'd probably give it a B-. I do like some of their defensive picks. I really like their defensive picks, and they got great value for Christian Gonzalez, just another freak athlete. Right. So that bumps my grade up from a C+ to a B-. But I'm still trying to think of how they can get better on offense without having any draft picks really invested there. The top receiver right now is...
I gotta say, like, what are they doing? Like, when you look at their draft, and there's about 5 teams that I would say, like, what are they doing? Like, what's the plan?
There's no plan on offense,
there was no,
really.
like, that looked like, well...
In a year where it almost feels like this is, like, Bill Belichick's on the hot seat, as crazy as it sounds, like, I don't know if they really did much to turn the needle.
He's going to try to not lose games.
They're still going to have a great defense. But
that's what I looked like. Well, we're going to try to not lose.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because my quarterback's not great. I couldn't sell him because they tried to shop him around and they got no interest. Yeah. So, and they weren't going to draft one. So they're just kind of like, well, but it's not like they're building. It's not like a team that looks like they're building for the future.
No.
They're just trying to, like, make the defense a little bit better.
I don't even think they took back-to-back guards. I didn't even really think they needed to go guards.
No.
Really.
They had a solid...
They needed an offensive tackle, in my opinion. They didn't even go offensive tackle at all.
Right. Now, yeah, they have Cole Strange on the left side and Michael Wenwu on the right side. Those are fine picks.
Yeah.
They went and signed Riley Reif, and they have Trent Brown on the left side. I don't know if offensive line was really what was needed right now in a year where they're trying to compete. And hey, maybe not. Maybe they're not trying to compete. Maybe they're trying to almost not. I don't want to say tank, but I take a look at next year's draft and I see Drake May and I see Caleb Williams, and it almost feels like they're kind of set up to where they can move on from Mac Jones.
Drake May to New England. Call it now.
That's that's a possibility. The wide receivers that are still left in free agency, I mean, they could always come back and grab N'Keal Harry again.
That worked out.
Julio Jones, or the corpse of Julio Jones, I should say.
He's
Sammy Watkins is still there. He's gonna have a great week 1, and then
go to sleep. I'm giving them a C+. I think Christian Gonzalez pick was great. They got better on defense, but I don't think they needed to get that much better on defense. They needed to prioritize offense to some degree. And picking their first skill player in the 6th round isn't what I had in mind.
Yeah.
Granted, I like Boutte, but he's not going to be a starter right now. I mean, if you want to turn things around, try to at least compete in this division, then you needed to go pass rusher first 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Or pass catcher or running back. I mean,
Or tight end.
or a tight end. I mean, they did have Mike Gesicki, but it depends on what Mike Gesicki you're getting.
Yeah, but that's true.
I don't know. I mean, Mike Gesicki has had flashes of a top 10 tight end and then also flashes of top
He's
15 to 20.
Also a wide end.
Yeah, wide end. He has a wide end.
Hey yo.
Let's get on to the Bills because we have a lot to talk about.
We might have to just do the AFC today. as we're kind of diving in, this might just be an AFC.
Yeah,
recap.
we could just probably do the AFC because this Bills are going to be a little because I have that was a little loud. I'm sorry. I have my opinions on the Bills. Not too bad, but let's talk about the Bills. The Bills. We already have Sean call in. He gave us his take. Did he like the pick? Did he say he liked the pick, or was it the first round pick, draft?
He felt indifferent by it.
Yeah.
It seemed to me from just how we were talking was he didn't really like it. He thinks that they should have went and grabbed a receiver.
Yeah.
Or at least made the move to go up and grab a receiver. I mean, I look at it like this in hindsight. Really, would you rather have potentially maybe Jordan Addison or Dalton Kincaid and Dorian Williams, because it would have costed their 3rd round to move up?
This is my take. All right. I mean, and you have a point, but here's my thing with Dalton Kincaid. I think he is great. I think he is the best tight end in the draft. I think we got good value for him at 25. The thing about would you rather have Addison and Dorian Williams, or Kincaid and Dorian Williams, or like a Jordan Addison? I mean, I think you could have traded up with and got Jordan Addison or a JSN, and then with if you still have one of your 3rd or 4th round picks, with Dorian Williams, I think you could have traded back a little bit and still got him. I think he is a solid player. He comes from a smaller school. But I think they could have moved back maybe into the early 4th round and got him because they were at the end of the 3rd. Me personally, I like Dorian Williams. I think he's a nice fit. I just think we could have got him in the 4th, to be honest. I saw a lot of projections for him before the draft when he got drafted, and he was looking like a day 3 pick. So I personally. The consensus is that Dalton Kincaid is going to be this wide end. He's going to be a tight end in a slot receiver position. And that's fine. I like that. But the problem is Ken Dorsey is my problem. And Ken Dorsey's had his flashes last year. There's signs of greatness, but then after the bye week, he kind of just everything was bland. You lost games to the Jets where you should have won by all means. Because
I will say with that Jets game is Gabriel Davis should have caught that pass.
Yeah,
went right through his hands, and that would have been the game winner.
Yeah, that's just an example. But there was one of the main points of the Bills season last year, why we failed was, and if you consider it a failure, is the players that we acquired or have that should be used more weren't used. So Nyheim Hines wasn't used enough. That was a guy who was going to be a running back and a special teamer who was going to have a decent contribution to this team. On offense, also Dawson Knox wasn't used to what he is paid for. $13 million a year. That's 6th or 7th highest paid tight end. Khalil Shakur got drafted, had 10 to 15 catches, I want to say, in that range. Really didn't have an impact at all. And we needed, a number 3 receiver when Isaiah McKenzie wanted to be inconsistent. So that's just my take. I mean, James Cook also, he was primarily a pass catching running back at Georgia. They didn't really throw the ball to him. So for me personally, it's more of if this could either work out very well or this could flop bad. Because it's either, if you have both these guys on the field, you either, if you use them both at the same time, then you're great. But if you choose to not overuse, but you use Knox more than Kincaid, then you wasted your first-round pick. And then if you use Kincaid more than Knox, then you're paying a guy $13 million a year to be a blocker and to catch a number of passes, not as much as Kincaid. That's just my take. So it's more of like I'm not jumping the gun at all. I'm more of like I need to wait and see how this works.
I mean, I'll say this. Yeah, was Ken Dorsey really as bad as Buffalo paints him out to be?
I mean, on paper, you could say this. You could say this even about Leslie Frazier. On paper, they look like good coordinators. They look,
But I mean, the Bills still ran, I think, the third most efficient offense in the league. It's one thing if the Bills were ranked middle of the pack after being a top 3 offensive team, but they're still a top 5 offensive team, and this is his first year as offensive coordinator. Now, there were times where the team fell flat, where the offense fell flat, but in the grand scheme of things, I mean, pre-bye, people were singing Ken Dorsey's praises. I think about the NFL opener, and it was a clinic.
I was there.
I
was there. Yeah, no, it was a great game.
Home opener and the NFL opening season. Those first 2 games, I mean, they were firing on all cylinders. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know if teams started to figure out Ken Dorsey's plan, but again, he's a first-time offensive coordinator, and I don't want it to be too early to jump the gun on who we think he can be. I'm not going to call for his head just yet. And you know what? If the Bills' offense kind of looks, if they don't have a crazy efficiency increase this season, I'm not going to call for Ken Dorsey's head. I just want to see an incremental increase. I don't want to see the same mistakes made again, but I don't even think he was all that bad, to be honest. I think it also comes down to the players, and again, it sounds funny to say, but there were some serious things that happened in Buffalo that were definitely weighing on the players' minds. You can't take that out of the equation, where this was a really mentally exhausting year for them.
Yeah.
So all that being said, and I remember the interviews from the sidelines where players in that Cincinnati game were like, it was deflated on the sideline the entire game, despite everything. Now, do you put that on the coaching? I don't know. Do you put that on Ken Dorsey? I don't know, because he's up in the booth. So he can't really fire up his team in the way. Is that an indictment of Sean McDermott, where he can't incite his team to keep moving? But
yeah,
I don't know. That's my take on it. I don't think I think the jury's still out on Ken Dorsey, and they're doing everything in their power to make sure that he can succeed.
Yeah.
And with this draft, this was pretty much like, all right, Ken, this is Brandon Bean. All right, Ken, I gave you the weapons. I need you to go out and execute. I got you. Yeah. I got you faster playmakers on offense. I got you a big receiving threat in Dalton Kincaid. I got you another massive receiving threat in Justin Shorter. Make your magic happen.
Yeah, I'm not like calling for the head block with Ken Dorsey. It's just with the inconsistencies in last year and the underutilization of some of these players, that's just what scares me. And here's the thing, though. I could be wrong. I'm not saying the Bills had a C draft. Like, no, I'm giving them a pretty solid grade. But like, it's just when you have a great offensive mastermind and you have 2 tight ends, then I'm more like, oh, happy. Like, you give Andy Reid 2 tight ends. Like,
would you even say Brian Daboll?
Brian Daboll. I mean, with Brian Daboll, I would feel a little bit better. I would definitely feel a little bit better. I still have there still was that inconsistencies with what Dorsey has, but it's obviously you see the inexperience with Dorsey and more of the experience with Daboll. And granted, what happened last year, I'm not blaming it all on Dorsey. Obviously you said there was a lot of factors that go into it. I'm just playing it how it is. Having 2 tight ends, it's not easy to have both guys succeed. So, we just saw it with New England a couple years ago. We thought, they're going to be this, beautiful offense, have Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, and they're just going to pick teams apart. And then Hunter Henry's okay, and Jonnu Smith isn't on the team anymore. So, it's just, if Ken Dorsey, as I said, if Ken Dorsey does this right, this could be a beautiful thing. But it could also flop.
Yeah.
Either Dawson Knox, the money is wasted, or the draft pick's wasted. So that's my take. But granted,
Realistically, how do you see them both thrive in an offense? What would you be content with?
I think that I would be content with. Well, here's the thing with Kincaid is Kincaid's not viewed as the greatest of run blocking. So I mean, I don't know if I could throw out like stats right now, but I mean, you give me. I say a successful season for Kincaid right now would probably be like around like 400 to 500 receiving yards and probably like 3 to 5 touchdowns. I would say that like for a rookie season for a rookie tight end, I think that is solid.
And what would you think for Knox in that same offense?
For Knox, I mean Knox, he's been there a couple years. He's probably going to get the bulk of the tight end shares, since he's been there. But then maybe in the end of the season we see Kincaid, overtake the shares in pass targets. So I mean Knox, I feel like Knox probably be around the similar, projection, just a little bit higher. So probably more of like the 5 to 6 range with I'm hoping like 6 touchdowns, 4 to 6 touchdowns. That's what I'd like to see out of him, but we'll see. I mean, we still have Diggs on this team. We still have Gabe on this team. We still have, Justin Shorter, Khalil Shakir, guys like that coming into this offense. So we'll see. But granted, Dalton Kincaid, though, as I said, best tight end in the draft, great player, great pick at 25. It's great value.
How about their pick at the second round?
Osiris Torrance, for me, if they would have got him in the first round, I would have been like,
great.
That's cool. Osiris Torrance, for me, is a really, really good pick because they got him with the 28th pick in the second round. And I had him in some mocks going 20th in the first round. So
I think he was the best true guard in this draft. There are a lot of guys like Pete Skoronski was announced as a guard, but he was a tackle all through college. He has that positional versatility. But this was Osiris Torrance was the best true guard, I thought.
Yeah, I think he was the best. Yeah, interior offensive lineman. Period. The value getting him late second round is just amazing. And then Dorian Williams. I said my take on Dorian Williams. He's fast. He's a fit. I think that there was a little bit of a run on linebackers. I would have liked to see maybe like a Trenton Simpson on the Bills or like a Keon Hanley.
Yeah, we were texting during the draft where it looked like Trenton Simpson was going to follow us, but then the Ravens took him. I think 3 or 4 picks ahead of the Bills.
Yeah, and I would prefer a couple of guys like that. That's why Dorian Williams. I like him. I just think they could have traded back possibly into the 4th round and got him. But I mean, if he works out, he works out. He's literally, they're trying to say he's undersized. He's a typical inside linebacker build. They're just trying to compare him to Tremaine Edmonds, who was a freakish athlete.
I did see that Brandon Beane wanted to start him at outside linebacker first. I don't know if that's really his build. I think they're just going to do whatever they can to kind of get him on the field.
I mean, we run a 4-2-5. It all depends on what McDermott runs. If he runs more of like a 4-3, then I could see, maybe they should move him inside. But Matt Milano is going to be the center of this defense.
Of course.
So, 4-3, 4-2, he's like a 4-3, he's Mike.
Yep.
And then 4-2, he's just, it's one linebacker and the other linebacker. And he's going to be obviously the signal caller.
Yep.
So, I mean, when you run a 4-2-5, that it's kind of like a outside linebacker / inside. You're playing linebacker at that point.
And I kind of alluded to this earlier. I feel like we're going to see a defensive identity shift as well.
Yes.
With Sean McDermott taking over play calling. And you just kind of take a look at the guys that they've signed and the players that they drafted. Poona Ford was a massive signing for them this past couple days. He fits in right in at nose tackle, and I think what we're going to see is a shift away from the Ed Oliver type of defensive tackle, where we're going to see a massive front 4. And then the back 7 are going to be zipping. There's going to be a lot of blitz packages. A lot more blitzing. Yeah, a lot of aggression. Sean McDermott was known as a defensive playmaker as being overly aggressive. And I think that's the kind of the spunk that the Bills defense needs, especially to pair up with an offense like they have. just that kind of energy giving off of each other on both sides. I think we're going to see a lot more interceptions and a lot more sacks coming into this season.
Let's hope, man. Let's hope. Last 3 picks. I mean, Justin Shorter, I thought was a great pick in the 5th round.
That's another big pick.
Yeah, he is literally a clone of DK Metcalf. Measurable. I think Metcalf's 5 pounds heavier.
Did you see that picture of him?
Oh, of him flexing?
Pre-draft?
Yeah, no, that made me not trying to no. Made me happy.
Hey, yo.
Made me happy.
Hey, yo.
It made me happy. He's a guy who is, a physical specimen. The only thing about him is I just wanted to see a little bit more from him, collegiate wise. He only had a couple hundred yards receiving and I think like 2 or 3 touchdowns his senior year.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit more play in college, a little bit more film, I would say, would have helped. He would have been above a 5th round pick, if he had more film. That's literally what's holding him back. But are we?
I'm trying to pull up
or?
I'm trying to pull up the picture
of
Justin Shorter, but it's not coming up.
Yeah. But yeah, he's a guy. I thought Buffalo needed to get a pass catcher at some point in this draft. So, that's potentially a steal in the 5th round. The last 2 picks, Nick Broker and Alex Austin, for me, it's kind of tough because I think Broker has a chance to make the active roster, just guard. You got Osiris Torrance, you have Ryan Bates, you signed Connor Williams.
I mean, hey,
yeah.
More so with the Alex Austin pick. Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have found great value in the later rounds when it comes to defensive back. So I think there is a shot that he can make the team. I mean, it's not always a hit because I think of last year, the year before with Rashad Wildgoose.
Yeah.
We thought that he was going to be a lock for the roster, but he was not, and he was a 6th round pick on him. But just
Christian
from
Benford is a starter.
Right, exactly. Christian Benford. I think of Dane Jackson. I think of DeMar Hamlin. I think of they get a lot of late value out of cornerbacks and defensive backs in total. So I don't know. I was kind of looking into Alex Austin's pick. He ran a 4.55 40. He's got the size. He's 6'1", 191 pounds. And I don't know. There might be something there from him.
Yeah. It's just cornerback for me is just kind of stacked. That's my only kind of head scratcher. I mean, you have White, Elam, Johnson, Dane Jackson, Cam Lewis, Christian Benford, and they really like, Christian Benford's going to be a guy who's going to be flip-flopping from corner to safety.
They got Taylor Rapp, too.
They also have Taylor Rapp.
And they signed Zane Anderson.
And they have Saran Neal. There's a lot of guys. That's why I'm saying there's a lot of guys, and they like, Saran Neal and Cam Lewis are 2 special teams guys that really.
Oh, they love Saran Neal.
Yeah. So for me, I just with the last 2 picks, I just don't really see them making the roster. Broker a little bit more of a chance, but I think corner was kind of a little bit of a, pick for me.
I mean, hey, it was like the 7th to last pick in the entire draft.
Yeah. But so then, what would you give them a grade overall? They addressed all their needs with the.
They hit all the boxes to me, and they got insane value. I thought with even their 1st round pick and their 2nd round pick. Dorian Williams was a little bit of and then like you said, Justin Shorter, Nick Broker, Alex Austin. I'd give it an A-. I don't think it was the best draft. I don't think it was the worst draft, but definitely closer to the top teams that have drafted.
Yeah, I'm giving them a B+. I've seen a lot of people giving them an A. And again, I'm not jumping the gun just yet. I just need to see how they implement these 2 guys at tight end. I think Osiris Torrance is going to be a day 1 starter. I think he beats out Ryan Bates at guard.
I think we'll see Dalton Kincaid in the slot week 1.
Yeah. It just all depends on how they use him. And then the last 3 picks, Shorter, I'm projecting him to make the roster. But if the last 2 players make the team, then I'll probably, if you look back, this draft might go into the A- for me. But I just, for me, I just think 4 of these players are going to make the roster. And then the thing about Kincaid is hopefully he, is utilized right. So that's why I'm just giving them a B+. It's good. Not an A, not an A-. It's still good, though. So
before we move off of the Bills, we do have to answer Sean's question of ranking the Bills drafts. Now, he did say
I got to look this up.
Take 2018 out of the equation, the Josh Allen pick specifically, because obviously that was a home run.
Yeah.
You can't – I mean, I guess you could include Josh Allen. I mean, that was the start of the draft, but that was Brandon Beane's first. So I'm thinking back at just some of the players. I don't have anything in front of me, so bear with me as I go off the top of my head.
I'm pulling it up.
2018 had Tremaine Edmonds, of course. I believe that also had Taron Johnson. 2019 had Dawson Knox. 2019 also had Ed Oliver. Had Cody Ford, too, so think about that. 2020 was when they spent their first-round pick on Stephon Diggs, and I saw an interesting stat where 14 of those first-round picks, fifth-year options, were not taken.
Yep.
So Brandon Beane, I thought, did the right thing in the first round of that draft and grabbed Stephon Diggs. And then they also got guys like Gabe Davis in the 2020 draft.
I have the drafts pulled up.
Okay.
So, 2019 was Oliver, Ford, Singletary, Knox, Voshan Joseph, Jaquan Johnson, Daryl Johnson, Tommy Sweeney. I mean, do you want to just grade these by are we grading them by drafts or overall?
Yeah, let's do a hindsight grade. Looking back at it, because people are even my dad was telling me, he was like, yeah, I have some clients who are not happy with Brandon Beane, and I'm like, you know what? I still think he's a top 5 GM in the league, me personally.
So 2020 was no first-round pick. They had from 2 to 7, Epinesa, Moss, Gabe, Jake Fromm, Tyler Bass, Isaiah Hodgins, Dane Jackson. 2021 was Rousseau, Basham, Spencer Brown, Tommy Doyle, Marquez Stevenson, Damar Hamlin, Rashad Wildgoose, Jack Anderson. 2022 was Kyrie Elam, James Cook, Terrell Bernard, Khalil Shakir, Matt Ariaza, Christian Benford, Luke Tenuta, Balin Spector, and then this year's draft, Kincaid, Torrance, Dorian Williams, Justin Shorter, Nick Broker, Alex Austin.
I don't think we could include this draft just yet.
Yeah.
But I think that the top one for me and the most valued players is probably going to be the 2000. Can you read back to me 2018? Tremaine Edmonds, Josh Allen.
So the 2018, I don't even think I named it off. 2018 was Josh Edmonds, Harrison Phillips, Taron Johnson, Saran Neal, Wyatt Teller, Ray McLeod, Austin Prohl.
That was, that
was his best draft.
You think about Harrison Phillips, you think about Wyatt Teller. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's all-pro guard, but never was.
And that
with
was
us.
his freshman draft. So, again, that's another situation where I feel like people are pampered. Like, Bills fans are pampered because they've had a top NFL team for the last 5 years. And we forget that not every single year is going to be you're the best thing at everything.
Yeah. Thing is, though, you look at this draft, and I mean, all these guys have panned out. They're all, they all have solid – they're all on teams. They're all on NFL
Draft,
teams.
develop, retain. That's –
Yeah, they're all on teams. They with the Bills, they didn't keep McLeod and Teller – and Phillips, but I mean Phillips was a starter for his first couple of years here.
Ray McLeod's been doing well in San Francisco,
especially as a return man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had his flashes on offense as well. His career stats are 78 catches, 633 yards.
I mean, he's a guy that's going to get a second contract. That's just he is.
Yeah, he's a good return man. Austin Prohl, I don't even think really made it out in the NFL, but all those guys, are. They play vital roles on teams. For me, I'd probably say the worst draft out of all these. This is kind of tough to say what the worst draft was. Maybe 2019 was the worst draft. I mean,
Dawson Knox.
That was
Devin
the Ed Oliver
Singletary,
draft.
Ed Oliver.
Cody Ford, Devin Singletary. I mean, Singletary's had his good.
He was a solid running back.
He's a solid running back. Dawson Knox has been a solid tight end. Voshan Joseph never really made it in the NFL so far. Jaquan Johnson's been a backup, special teamer. I think he's on the Colts right now. Daryl Johnson is a backup with the Panthers. Tommy Sweeney just left us as well. With the Ed Oliver thing, a lot of people had their takes on it. Was Ed Oliver really worth a 9th overall pick? And at the time, he was one of the best D tackles in the country coming out of the draft. But
I mean, they were calling him Aaron Donald Jr.
Yeah. So it made sense now, but if you had to redraft it, Ed Oliver is probably a later first round pick.
Yeah.
So, what would you grade? So we're not counting 2018. He said, is that
you
the
just
point
don't
of this
count
game?
Josh Allen?
Don't count Josh Allen, but you can count Edmonds on.
Yes.
From 2018. Okay, that's fair. If I could count that, So 2018.
I still think with or without Josh Allen, that's been his best draft in terms of player retention and actual contributors. Read off the 2021.
2021 is Rousseau, Basham, Spencer Brown, Tommy Doyle, Marquez Stevenson, DeMar Hamlin, Rashad Wildgoose, Jack Anderson. That actually might be the worst draft.
That was, I think that was a poor draft. I mean, I think all of these drafts are great because you got players and you have real contributors across the team.
Yeah, Stevenson hasn't played. Hamlin played a little bit this year, and obviously we saw what happened with him. Wildgoose has been a practice squad player. Jack Anderson's been a practice squad player. Tommy Doyle's been our backup / practice squad player. Spencer Brown has split starting duties, in his tenure. Same with Boogie Basham. The only pick you could say you hit on the first three. DeMar Hamlin, I would say, is a decent pick. That's the worst draft.
2020 first round pick was Stephon Diggs, quote unquote.
Yes, so that's like Diggs. I mean, that one. I mean, Epinesa has been a rotational player. Zach Moss didn't really plan out. Gabe Davis has been.
He's a backup to Jonathan Taylor now. So
yeah, I mean he's okay. Gabe Davis has been.
I mean, everything you want and more out of a fourth round pick.
For fourth round pick, he's been great. Jake Fromm hasn't panned out in the NFL. Tyler Bass has been great. He's just got extended.
Shout out Tyler Bass.
Isaiah Hodgins, not good with us. Great with the Giants though. Most of his production coming this year. Then Dane Jackson has had his ups and downs.
I mean, that's a seventh.
That's good value at seventh.
Exactly. He has starting time.
Yeah. So I'd probably say 2018 was the best even without Josh, I think. I don't know if that's a hot take or not.
Yeah.
But I'd probably say that 2021 was the worst. 2019 second worst. 2020 is the third worst. I'd probably put 2022 second best, or not third best, second best. And then 2018 has been the best. 2023 we haven't. They haven't
Jury's
played
still out.
yet.
Yep. Jury's out.
So I mean, what would you give them a grade overall? How would you say how good of a drafter Bean is?
So if we're translating A being 92 and up out of 100, he's got an A all day for me. I think you factor in Brandon Bean as a whole, fantastic drafting, draft, develop, retain. I mean, you look at other GMs, and I think he might be one of the longest tenured GMs in the league, because he's doing everything right: draft, develop, retain. And then the free agent signings, and that's the thing. Not every single pick and every single free agency signing are going to be hits.
Right.
I still think he's one of the best GMs in the league, hands down.
Yeah. I think he is one of the best GMs in the league. I think his strengths are more in the free agency and making trades department.
When it comes to numbers, he's a wizard.
Yeah. When it comes to creating cap space, he's been great. Drafting wise, I don't know if I can give him an A. I might just give him a. Because here's the thing is some of these picks are great, but Isaiah Hodgins wasn't great with us, great with the Giants. Wyatt Teller, not great with us, but great with Cleveland. I mean, overall, if you're to bunch these drafts together, I'm giving him an A-. Some of these are great. That Oliver pick is like the sore thumb that sticks out to me because at the time, as I said, it was great, but now it's kind of when you redraft it, it looks a little bit different. Greg Rousseau, has been solid as well as a first-round pick. He's getting better each year. He just got drafted in 2021, so we can't say that much about him. But I'd probably I'd give him an A-. Probably.
All right.
Yeah, it's just some of these the day 3 picks. You don't always sit on the day 3 picks. There's some hits, there's some nots, but some of these guys haven't even sniffed the field at all. I get some of these 6th and 7th guys, they're special teamers, and that's all they become. But some of these guys that don't even make the roster. That's my thing, is making the roster. Is you really have a good draft if your whole draft makes the roster. That's my personal take. You know, you guys might have different, viewers. You know, everybody else might have a different take, but
We're steady on 5 watching right now.
Yeah,
This is-
Kansas. I mean, I'm not trying to bring up Kansas City. I'm not trying to reference them a lot, but Kansas City this past year, they kept each one of their picks.
Well, I mean, hey,
and
Kansas City's the best team in the league right now. They
they're
just
the
won the
best
Super
team.
Bowl.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I have a weird question, like, because when you think about it, like, when you're a better team, and the Bills are clearly a better team, and they're top 5, top 6 teams in the league.
Yeah.
Theoretically, in those circumstances, you don't need 7 guys the next year. Right?
Yeah.
So you get to that 7th round, you got to draft somebody. So you're drafting somebody that you're hoping you can value, that you can do something with.
Yeah.
Even if it's trade, or just something. And so I it's funny. I just happened to, while you guys were doing it, I looked it up. And last year, the NFL ranked McDermott as, the best GM in the league last year. He was, and a lot of it is not just his drafting, but, because of the players that he's gotten, but also knowing when to get rid of players. Like that,
Yeah.
like LaShawn McCoy, they're referencing things like, John Brown, when to reward certain guys, things like that. So I don't know. I think I think McDermott probably is just getting a lot of shit because he's not flashy, and some of these teams are flashy, and right? Is that, like they?
I mean,
You mean Brandon Bean?
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah. I'm sorry. I
Bean has he's shown signs of aggression. Signs of if he wants
he
that
was
player.
before,
he'll tell
but
you
he
he
hasn't
gets
had
antsy.
that big thing. So like,
Yeah.
it's funny. He went and moved up a little bit so we could get Kincaid. And then everyone's like, well, what did he do that for? But like a month ago, everybody on the planet, like not everybody, but a lot of people were like, oh, he's not flashy. Well, then so he did something dramatic. He made a change, and they're like, oh, I didn't like it. I mean, obviously everybody's talking about they're thinking that this is going to be like our version of Kelsey. Like that's kind of what they're hoping,
Yeah.
But and I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see.
I mean, a year from now, we'll know. We could be laughing at this a year from now
Yeah.
if Dalton Kincaid comes and wins Rookie of the Year.
It's possible. It's definitely
I
possible.
think Dorsey. I was looking up a little bit about like what Dorsey's background. It seems like where he came from, that like those bigger guys going out to catch and blocking and stuff like that. It seems like that's more of what he's trying to recreate some of his other places that he's worked.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and if he doesn't do it, because I feel like he had a shopping list, and Josh wanted him too, because there was a lot of text supposedly going to Josh, and I said no, I want him. Like he wanted him. So, if not, I think like I said, if it doesn't pan out, I think Dorsey's gone.
Yeah.
I just think they're just going to move on because
They're in a tight window right now.
They can't just to keep experimenting,
Right.
or they're in trouble.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll definitely see. I mean, I do, as I said before, I do think Bean is more as a stronger like free agent signer and trader, but like as a drafter, I mean, he's had some bright spots, but he's also had some kind of questionable spots. Like 2021 is a prime example for me. But still, some of the jury's still out for some of these guys. I mean, that was only 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
So I mean, we can't jump the gun that yet. But
We're 100, nearly 120 minutes into this show.
under 20 minutes.
Yeah. We're
We started at 7.
hour, yeah. Or I meant 80 minutes.
80 minutes?
Hour 20 is what I meant.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hour 20.
We
yeah.
could skim through. I mean, the rest of the AFC and just like give our grades and then because obviously we can't get through all the rest of these AFC teams. Miami didn't have a first round pick. They didn't really have the greatest of drafts for me. I'm gonna give them a C. I'm just gonna name off some of these grades for the AFC. Houston, I thought had an A- for me. I thought that they got 2 of the best, probably the 2 best prospects in the NFL draft, in Anderson and Stroud. They did give up next year's first, but granted, Will Anderson, C.J. Stroud, give me all that. Colts A- as well. Raiders C+. I had Titans B, Browns B, Steelers I had an A- actually. I really like their draft. Chargers B, I think I already said that. Ravens B+, Jaguars C+, Bengals B+, Chiefs B-, Broncos I give them a C. And I think that's it for the AFC. But yeah, Pittsburgh was interesting to me because I thought Pittsburgh, they traded up. They got Broderick Jones, correct?
Yep.
So, pivotal left tackle. And then they still got Joey Porter, a guy who I thought was going to be their pick at 19.
They got him at 30
or 17. They got him at 32, first pick in the second round. And then, they kept going. You got Darnell Washington in third round. I know
got
you
Keanu
love
Benton as well.
Keanu
which
Benton
is a
as well.
Solid D tackle out of Wisconsin.
Yeah, so they really hit on their picks. I thought they got better.
And then Corey Trice in the 7th round is huge.
Yeah.
He is a physical freak. A guy that I follow pretty closely, Brett Coleman. He had him as his cornerback 5 total in the entire draft.
Right.
And to get him in the 7th round is insane value.
Yeah. Is there any other grades that stick out? Titans, they got Skoronski, they got Levis, but it's just a little too much uncertainty.
Yeah,
with quarterback. And I had them trading up with Detroit to get Levis at 6, so to get him in the second round is great value.
I think that they, we could look back at this, and this is going to be the franchise-altering move for the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
Will Levis could be one of the next big. He has the ceiling to be a top 5, top 10 player in this league. But he also has the floor of a bottom 5 quarterback.
Right.
So it's a big gamble, but to get him in the second round, I think is decent enough so we're not putting too much value into him. It's safe.
Yeah. Dolphins, I gave them a C. They only had 4 picks the entire draft. Granted, they could.
They lost their first round pick.
They lost their first round pick because of tampering. But other than that, Cam Smith in the second round, I thought was a decent pick.
I think that was a really good value personally.
Yeah.
He was a borderline first round pick. And to get him in late second, I think that was a solid move for them.
Yeah, but granted, they just got Jalen Ramsey. They still have Xavier Howard. We don't really know what Byron Jones is doing. Byron Jones, I think he's playing. I don't know if he's playing or not. He might be. I'm not really too sure.
Byron Jones, I don't believe, is on the Dolphins anymore.
He's not? Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
did see a tweet that he wanted to
I think
retire.
they released him.
But
Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard on both boundaries.
they still have Noah Igbenogany.
Yeah,
too.
but I think Cam Smith supplanting Igbenogany. And then they have Kader Kohu at their nickel. So
They like Kader Kohu, I'm pretty sure.
Their top 3 seems to be set, but Cam Smith is going to be one of the best reserve corners.
Yeah. I like their third round pick. I like Devin Akane at
That's a great pick.
I think he could compete for the starting job. Granted, I don't know about compete right now, but with Mostert, his injury history, and Jeff Wilson.
I think he will be starting. He will be a starting Dolphins running back this season at some point.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent pick. I think he's a great dynasty pick as well.
He is a great dynasty pick. I picked him up in our dynasty league in our rookie draft.
Yep.
And he is also such a great scheme fit for Mike McDaniel. It's everything that that you'd want out of a running back in a Mike McDaniel's offense.
Yeah. So other than that, outside of Cam Smith, Devin Akane, they didn't pick till the 6th round. They got Stanford receiver Elijah Higgins, and then they got Michigan offensive tackle Ryan Hayes. It's not enough for me to give them more than a C.
Granted, they didn't really have too many holes on the roster either.
Yeah.
They went and grabbed Mike White as a backup to Tua.
Yeah. I could have seen them maybe go like a tight end at some point. They lost Mike Gesicki. They haven't really. Durham Smythe.
In a draft like this, tight end was a huge need.
Yeah, Durham Smith was a guy who I thought they should have looked at. Linebacker, I think, is also a position that I think they should have addressed at some point.
Right now, according to our lads, Elijah Higgins is listed as a tight end.
Really?
So,
Maybe.
6'3", 235, and he's gotten his best work out of the slot. So, I don't know. You might see a switch to tight end there.
The thing about Cam Smith though is just I just didn't think it was that much of a need with their first pick in the draft, to say the least. But as you said, it could work out for them more in the long haul. rather than right now. So
Yeah, I mean that's possible. They had guys like let's see, Rashee Rice was there. They don't really need a wide receiver.
they didn't really need receiver.
Luke Schoonmaker was there. Brenton Strange was there.
Mhm.
A few other players were there.
Even like
Tight
guard, I
ends,
even would have
too.
like considered guard for them.
Oh, Cyrus Torrance was
Cyrus
there.
Torrance would have been like, oh god, like, I was texting Dame, and Dame wanted a linebacker, or he was looking at Torrance too, and I was like,
Yeah, linebacker wise, I mean, hey, Tuli Tupalutu was there still. Who else? Dan Henley, I believe, was still there. Trenton Simpson was there. Drew Sanders was there.
yep. There's some guys. I just didn't think a cornerback was like one of their top 3 needs.
Yeah,
But yeah, I do agree with you that he was good value at the.
probably
bottom of
was
the-
just their best player available, and then kind of figure out the rest later.
Yeah. What about you? Do you have any other like notable grades that you'd give out?
You
We're kinda
stole
running
mine in Pittsburgh.
A minus, yeah.
Pittsburgh was a solid grab. I really liked the Ravens draft too.
Mhm.
Went and grabbed Zay Flowers in the first round. Gave more receiving help to Lamar Jackson after signing him to a mega deal.
Yep.
Trenton Simpson in the third was fantastic as well.
Yep.
That's such great value. I was hoping he'd slide to the Bills, but didn't make it. But then even a guy like Andrew Voorhees, who tore his ACL late last year, he was the strongest guard in the draft. I think it was some sort of insane. It was like 32 reps on the bench. But yeah, he's a monster, and he could prove to be probably the best 7th round pick out of this whole draft.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the AFC. I mean, next week we could cover NFC as well. Just got a little bit of carried away with we had callers. We had it's 32 teams. So I mean, it's just
It was a big dream to try to get 32 teams in one.
yeah.
episode.
It was a reach, but I mean, you know what? We'll try next week for the NFC. Yeah. And plus we had to cover the Bills. I mean, that was a big topic because it's our team. So, our fans, our teams are the whole NFL, but the Bills are our personal fans.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
But I mean, we're almost pushing 9:00. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we sign off?
No, I just want to say thank you to our first 2 callers.
Yep.
Guy
and
Sean.
Yeah.
Shout out to you guys, and like we said, like every Wednesday night, tune in, call in, come talk to us, come talk about whatever you want, talk about football, talk about life. I don't care, just come say hi.
Yeah. Just don't ask me if water's wet. that we might get into a heated debate.
Just hang up.
Yeah, just hang up.
Good night.
Sorry.
That might be like 3 episodes long. All right, but yeah, that was episode 43 of the Big Yak Podcast. Thank you, Maranto and Emerge. Happy anniversary, Emerge. Just want to say that again. Thank you, Matt Johnson, BICBP Radio Network. We'll see you next week for episode 44 of the Big Yak Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you guys for calling in.